Hello, and welcome right here from Mzansi, where I am based, to the world wherever you are joining us in from today. Please do just drop some comments in the Q&A section to let us know where you are joining us from. Welcome to the Lekker Networks led by her webinar. From South Africa to Ireland, we have you covered on absolutely everything you would possibly need to know, whether you are exploring a move to Ireland already there or have some family and friends that are interested to make the move. You could be a business person just looking to the Irish market to expand and penetrate in that market. We have all the answers for you from South Africans that have lived it already. I'm very excited for you to meet our panelists today. They will be introducing themselves, but just before we get there, to give you a little bit of insight into what the Lekker Network is and what is led by her. The Lekker Network has built an infrastructure of opportunity for South Africans across the world. We are connecting South Africans and creating pathways back to South Africa, keeping the talent, the opportunities amongst us wherever we have landed up. We refer to South Africans who are building lives outside of South Africa as the 10th province. And we are bringing conversations like these to you depending on where your ambitions lie. Led by her is led by the incredible woman within the Lekker Network, and we bring you practical insights for you to utilize, whether it's within your business, your personal, professional lives, that you can make use of wherever you are on your journey. So without any further ado, I am going to ask our panelists to please introduce themselves, just a little bit about who you are, where are you based, how long have you been based there, and what is it that you are doing there. I'm going to start with you, John Mulder. Welcome.
Thank you, Cheryl. John Mulder. I am based down on the east coast of Ireland, about 50 kilometers south of Dublin in County Wicklow. Just close to a little town called Avoca, and in the one direction about 5 kilometers in the other direction to a larger town called Arklow. Been here 7 years, was back home for around 9. Just over here with my wife Siobhan, and my two of my daughters came with me, Logan, the second eldest, and Samara, the youngest. I have a third daughter back in Johannesburg, just moved to Johannesburg this weekend, strange enough, Kylie, she's my eldest. And I've been here 7 years and starting to settle in at last. So that's me.
The 7 years. Fantastic. Thanks for that, John. We'll come back to you to just find out a little bit about what it is that you are doing in Ireland. And let's move to Berilyn.
Hi, Cheryl. Thanks for having me. My name is Berilyn Teeling. I live in County Wicklow as well, just outside Ashford and Roundwood. We're kind of right in the middle of the country. I have been in Ireland for 15 years, and my day job is I work for a recruitment company. I manage their accounts office, and my nighttime and afternoon job is the South African Gathering.
Fantastic. I can't wait for us to share a little bit more about what the South African Gathering in Ireland is. All right, just back to our audience, please participate in the conversation. We want to hear what your questions are, some insights that you really want to know about. Any burning questions, feel free to pop them in. I'll bring them into the conversation. I've also just launched a poll, so please do participate in that poll so we can understand where it is that you are on your journey. John, so you've been there for 7 years. What brought you to Ireland, and what is it that you're currently doing there?
What brought us to Ireland was two very simple things. There was opportunity for our kids to gain access to a European visa. So that was not visa, European passport, sorry, which was obviously one of them. And what that does obviously is opens up the world to them. So certainly from an education and a travel perspective and opportunity perspective going forward in their lives. And the second thing was we wanted to just, I was in my late 40s. Siobhan and I were going, we've done okay in South Africa and life is good. A big part of what we want to do as we get older is to travel, and doing that from Europe makes a lot more sense, earning a bit of hard currency. So like the travel bug is there now. So Samara's the final one out the house, and it was a big travel push. So those are the two things. what I do is we've got a few small family investments which we're building. And I work for a company called Bastion here. Bastion is a Johannesburg-based entity that works for listed entities in South Africa. We do financial reporting, investor relations, so a kind of full suite of investor relations products, where anything from webcasting right through to actually producing the reports. That's my day-to-day job, and then I'm involved with the LACA network on a chapter level, where I'm working with the team and the new members here to try to build the chapter out and make sure that we make a success of it. That's what I do.
Fantastic. Thanks, John. Can I ask a quick question? Did you have that position before you left to Ireland, or did you secure your position only once you moved there?
No, so I've actually pretty much been very entrepreneurial up until recently. Yeah, as I said, we still have a few small family things. But we had our challenges, like anybody does when you move. You come in and you got a plan, and kind of doesn't pan out the way you think. We arrived just before COVID, so came in with the product, thought I was going to launch it. COVID hit, and kind of we built from there post that. But yeah, I've just recently secured the job, having met Belinda, who's the group CEO, mid last year. And we're in the process of launching the business here.
Exceptional. Thanks, John. Berilyn, do you tell us your story
Yes.
on how you landed up in Ireland?
My husband and I lived in Johannesburg, and we we were actually looking to move down to the coast at the time. My son was very young, he was 5, but my in-laws are originally from Ireland. And so my husband and son had Irish passports, and we thought, well, while we're making the move, let's give Ireland a try and see what it's all about. You know, we were doing okay in South Africa, but there was nothing really to keep us there. So we sold everything. We sold our house and every knife and fork that we owned, and got on a plane with 3 bags and came to Ireland, with nowhere to live and no jobs. And yeah, we took it from there. And it was just also, I think, a lot of the time you sort of move, you hope that there's going to be opportunity. You hope, obviously, safety is always a concern. And my son's education, which was very good in South Africa. I mean, there was, but just a different take on life. And yeah, here we are 15 years later.
Fantastic. How long did it take you to figure out what it is that you were going to do in Ireland without necessarily having a concrete plan?
We had to hit the ground running. My son needed to be in school. We had to find where we actually wanted to live. So we hired a car, and we had been told that if the sun was going to shine, it would be on the southeast coast. So we concentrated on that area, hired a car, drove around. When we drove into Wicklow town, we thought, this is a lovely town. This is where we want to end up. And I think within 2 weeks, we had my son in school and we'd rented a property. So yeah, you have to move quick. You can't sit around and wait for something to happen.
Sure. All right, just to give a little bit of context on who's joining us from the other side, I had posted a poll to ask, where are you in your Ireland journey? We have 33% of our audience saying they're just curious about Ireland, 38 leading with actively researching, 10% are saying they already have a visa or job offer, and 19% are joining us from Ireland. Welcome. I would like, Berilyn, if you can just share a little bit about, you've also the founder of the South African Gathering in Ireland. What is that all about? How did you think about coming about all of it, and how did you build it?
So I think what happens when you leave South Africa is you become more South African. So I mean, initially maybe you miss your rusks and all that kind of thing. That sort of goes away after a while. It's not like a necessity that you have to have. We had been to a few small South African get-togethers around the country, and when we first started, we had been talking about it for ages. We'd love to get South Africans together just for a day, where we can just be, we don't have to explain our accents and lekker and ena and all that kind of stuff. So we started off really small. We didn't have a budget of any description. I think we sold tickets for €5 or €10. And we had about 200 people we knew were coming, one food vendor, and it was an amazing weather weekend, and 1,200 people arrived. So it was chaos.
Wow.
It was absolute
Wow.
chaos. And everyone just wanted, we had guys pouring beers, we had a one-man band, people lighting fires, a potjie competition, and that's basically it. And we just had a really good, fun day. So it all started from there. And every year the challenge is just, trying to make it bigger and better with limited resources, because we rely on ticket sales to provide what we provide. So but it's just something that January comes around and I'm like, well, I can't not do this again, because a lot of people have made friends, they've hooked up with people, and we have a lot of small business vendors who are making cushions and milk tat and cook sisters and shwe items and that. So it's a great way for them to be able to show what they do and the support for them. So yeah, there's a few bits to it, which is great.
Incredible that you're bringing South Africans together, because that's a home away from home, and you bringing
Yes.
more than 2,000 South Africans together in a foreign country is exceptional. The audience on the other side, 30% leading with mentioning they have close friends and family in Ireland. So for those close friends and family that they want to share the news, I don't know if they know about the South African gathering or not. How do they find, how do they know when it happens? Do you have a specific page on social media, or do they just reach out to you on LinkedIn?
Well, they can reach out to me on LinkedIn, no problem. But we have the SA Gathering website. We've got South African Gathering Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok pages. So there is a lot of information out there. I do try and get it out as much as possible. So there are a few different ways that you can definitely find us. Yeah, and tickets are still available online. And it's a great, fabulous day.
Stunning. John, you are the chapter head for the Lekker Network in Ireland. We've partnered with the South African Gathering.
That's
Is
right.
it your first one? Have you been to any others prior to this? Sorry, John, you're just on mute. If you can unmute yourself.
There we go. Yeah, I've been to two beforehand. I went to the one in 2019, which was in just outside Greystown, if I remember.
Belmont, yeah.
Yeah, and I went to that one the year I arrived, and then I think the 1 year that Slane was about 3 years ago.
Just after COVID, yeah.
Just after COVID. I went to that one, and yeah, look, I think people don't understand. You get a lot of people out there who speak about getting things done. And you get people like Berilyn who just get things done. And she's the epitome of a Saffas expat, and wherever you want to put it in the world, she's going to bring people together, and it's a no-brainer that as the Lekker Network, we need to be part of what she's doing. It's just it goes without saying. We need to support it, not just be part of it, but support it and make sure we help it grow. And year one's been interesting. We've learned and pivoted a few times. But certainly, it's such a great event. You have to be there. It's kind of, and when I say you have to, if you can be there, be there. The bottom line is it really is truly, truly South African. And what's cool is you get a whole lot of Irish mates arriving as well, along with their South African friends. So it's an opportunity to connect cross culturally as well, and sort of bring them really into how odd we can be and how amazing we can be. So yeah, I think that's it's just an amazing event. Simple as that.
Thanks, John.
That integration is so important when you're living overseas as an expat, right?
Yeah.
And also getting everybody involved in the cultures. That's where the value lies. Right. I've asked our audience, what do they want to know the most about from all of the topics that we are covering today? And 85% have mentioned careers, work, and opportunities. So let's get right into it. I am going to ask both yourself, John, and Berilyn to please just share from your experience and the knowledge and insight that you have on the ground on that side. We are going to hop right into careers, work, and opportunities. Just let me know who would like to take it first. But which industries seem strongest for South Africans?
Yeah, definitely. Your critical skills would be your IT, health professionals. Um, yeah, I think those are your two main. But the thing is with the critical skills visas and opportunities, there are so many. Like if you pop onto your government gov.ie website and have a look, they literally will list engineers. I've written a couple of them down. A lot of your therapy specialists, so speech, physio. We have a lot of nurses, architects, and also media. So your animation and that kind of thing. Yeah, and health professionals, so optometrists, radiographers, and that. So there's a vast variation of different careers and opportunities for people wanting to come to Ireland.
Yeah, 100%. And if you look across as well, I mean, you mentioned architects, so the construction sector has a lot of opportunity
Yes.
as a whole. Because again, anything from skilled labor right through to obviously top professionals in that field. Transport is lorry drivers. That's a critical skill. That's quite interesting. Is if you have a code 14 or what's it called, an E1 now, I think back in South Africa, and you're not quite happy with your job, you've got a very good chance of getting work in Ireland or Europe with that qualification. And then what I've also found is that I mean, SACA has 500 registered members in Ireland, so which is quite interesting. So professional services, I mean, there's loads of young people and older people, but especially a lot of our youth are here all over the country working in accounting firms, law firms, that sort of thing. Because they're highly, our qualifications are highly regarded, very highly regarded. Yeah, so that would be just to top up on what Berilyn's saying.
Quite a few options spread across various industries. Then, John, because you are a serial entrepreneur, is it possible to start a business in Ireland? And if it is it difficult? Can you give a little bit of insight on that?
Yeah, so I think the reality check with Ireland is that it's easy to start a business. That's fine. Once you have the ability to work and stay, setting up a company is very easy. You can do it. You can register your own online accounts if you want to. You can do it through an accounting firm. Depends on where you are and sort of, I suppose, whether you're a SME or whether you're a medium to corporate type company. So setting up is easy. I think what I've learned, and I've learned the hard way, is to come in and make sure you've got very clear on your plan and very sure on your route to market. Because the market's small. So I think when you come into Ireland, you need to understand that it's a small market of 5.5 million people. You can cross the border into Northern Ireland and find another 3 million odd. So there's 8 to 10 million people on the island. That's your real opportunity by setting up a business in Ireland is access to Europe and the UK.
Yeah.
The foreign direct investment strategy is extremely strong. Corporation tax is really low. So if you want to expand internationally, generally most people would go UK, US, Singapore, maybe, whatever the case may be. But if you're looking for European access, UK access, and US access, believe it or not, it's a great place to be because like Dublin and DC have like they've got this love affair because the Irish population in the US is so big. But yeah, setting up is easy. Establishing your market is very, very important. Make sure you know exactly where you're going to find your business. Because working in Ireland itself and finding businesses and entrepreneur in Ireland itself it's tough. It's tough going if you don't have the networks. You need to make sure you've got the networks before you even consider saying my market is Ireland. So that would be my bit of advice.
Mm-hmm.
Great advice, thank you. And then, Berilyn, you work in a recruitment company. Would you say that the best way before anybody makes a move is to work through agencies? Or take it the way that you did, just pack up your bags and see what happens?
Well, you see, the thing is, I think for me, I was able to do that because my husband had an Irish passport, right? So
Oh,
I
wow.
was allowed to, and we did it 15 years ago. Things have got so much stricter now. You can't just arrive on Ireland anymore. Well, you couldn't then, but it's even harder. So everyone needs a visa. Even if you have a work permit, you have to get a visa. So um, look, you can, if you have, I don't know if you can actually on a South African, I don't think on a South African passport you can get a general or a critical skills work permit without having employment. So um, I think from South Africa, yes, LinkedIn is a great tool, but importantly is CVs in Ireland are different, slightly different to South African CVs. So you need to get those up to speed. There's a guy here who actually does he changes your CV over, has a look at them, and sorts them out for you so that they are in the correct format. And he's fabulous. So those kinds of things. But I think give it a bash and go for it. If that's what you want to do, what's the worst that can happen? You can head back to South Africa if things don't work. You know, you've got that as a backup, right? In a way. Obviously, you'd probably have to start again, but definitely, yeah, it's an
Worth it.
adventure. Yeah.
Just on that point of visas and work
Mm.
permits, how difficult is it to get a visa? And what are the different types?
So are you talking just from the point of view of a visitor visa?
Well, somebody that maybe wants, you can speak through all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, yeah. So a visitor's visa, I don't think it's too difficult to get. It's just that you need to have all the correct paperwork that everybody needs. And I suppose just going back to that, whether you're coming over to Ireland already or you're thinking about the most important thing is all your documentation.
Mm.
Everything. You need copies of your birth certificates, and there's often things that you don't think about. And you get to Ireland and suddenly you're like, how am I going to get this piece of paper from South Africa, which is almost impossible to get in South Africa. So you do have companies who assist with that from here. But if you are in South Africa, just make sure you have all those things. I think visitors' visas are taking probably 3 to 4 months at this stage. So you need to factor that in if you're visiting. And the work visas, you've got to find your employment before, and then all the documentation needs to be submitted for that. So that can take a good 6 to 12 months, depending.
And for you, John, have you had any difficulties with your visas and the
Yeah, so
renewal?
I think the biggest challenge that I've seen purely through my bit of time in the chamber and as well, and just trying to help people navigate certain things is people that arrive in critical skills have had the biggest challenge to get their families over, and it's
Yeah.
something that it's something that the I know the Irish government's working on to try solve because we've had chats about it. But I'd say, I think prepare yourself for if you come across some critical skills, it may just take a little while before your family arrives, which you need to prepare yourself for because it's a huge emotional challenge. It really is.
Mm.
And I've seen how many of my friends have but just had to fight and fight and fight, and literally some of them took up to 2 years to get their
Yeah.
families.
Yeah.
So I'd say, and that's just honest. Being honest, it's not a judgment thing, but it is what it is. And I'd like to say, through engagements, I've seen slight improvement. But that's the one sort of thing I could highlight is if you're planning to come and you're coming on critical skills, prepare yourself and your family for a bit of separation for a while.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
Yeah. Definitely. That's
Good,
probably,
honest
you're right.
insight
Yeah.
to have.
Yeah.
Sorry, Brendan.
No, no, no. So I'm just saying, yeah, and that your general and critical skills, yeah, definitely. I was listening to a South African woman, and as you said, John, it was 2.5 years that her and the kids were away from the husband. So not only is it hard for people left in South Africa, but you can imagine him arriving in Ireland. He's on his own and doesn't know anybody bar maybe the people that he works with. So yeah, you have to prepare yourself for the strain that can put on relationships. Yeah.
And back to John's earlier point, network is so important to have.
Yeah,
It will make
definitely.
it. Just to get to some comments and questions from the audience, we have Alexis, who is joining from Cape Town. The questions around shipping. What did you actually use? Courier versus freight forwarder versus checked luggage. What did it cost per box around about? I don't know if you're going to have those numbers, but you can maybe give an estimate. And what got unexpectedly stuck in customs? Thank you, Alexis. That's one of the questions from Alexis. When you couriered your belongings, what did you use?
Well, we didn't have much to bring with us. We had 3 suitcases, so we came on a plane. But what we did do was we had a small, I don't know if it was a cube or whatever it was that we brought, and it was mainly boxes with personal things. So photo albums, that kind of, and a few little South African wooden giraffes and things, that we needed to have with us. And 15 years ago, I think it cost us maybe 12,000 Rand, but I'm sure it's a fair amount more. So I wouldn't suggest if you're coming long term to bring furniture because especially with when you start off and probably are renting, most places you rent are furnished. So if you're bringing furniture over with you, you've got, do you know what I mean? So, and I think also South African, I remember beds that we had would be too large if you're renting something smaller. So it is definitely something to consider. Maybe not bringing your bed and dining room table and all that kind of thing initially anyway, until you know where you're going to land up.
And yourself, John, I know you travel
Yeah, same
quite.
experience as Berilyn. We arrived with 2 suitcases, unemployed and very little. So it was so that was the way we arrived as well. But I think probably I'd probably take reference from a couple of my mates who come across the corporate too. They've been paid for. It's just finding the right shipping agents and the right relocation agent. I think that's key. And to be honest, I don't have one off the cuff that I can even mention. So because I never went through that. But yeah, I think it's if you're going to bring your stuff and you have the long haul with the corporates, then or if if you're planning to bring your home with you, right relocation agent is key because they'll make sure that, especially if they're packing you, making sure everything's right. Like from my perspective, it was 2 suitcases and a wife and 2 kids. That was it. So, yeah.
I do know that sorry, Cheryl, I do know that there are 2 companies that I hear mentioned a lot. The one is Seven Seas, and the other one, I think they are SA Removals, if I'm not, it's something similar to that anyway. But there's just one thing I wanted to mention, not even from a plugging point of view, but just there is a couple of women who started a page. They have a website, they have a Facebook page called SA2Air. And they are they have so much information and it's up to date literally daily. So anything to do with visas, work permits, family reunification, all that kind of thing. They also will test for a very small fee your eligibility before you even start the process to save you from wasting time and money. And will also then, I think they do online consults. So if anybody's thinking of it and whatever, they are really worth having a chat to ask all your very technical questions. Yeah, they would be the 2 ladies to get in touch with.
Do you know whether they focus on Ireland specifically or South Africa
they are based in Ireland.
Yeah, they're purely
Yeah,
Irish.
so they basically, focus like anything that you could think of and more to ask, they would probably have the answer to.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Let's move into a little bit of the cost of living. So what gave you the biggest financial shock? John?
Pretty much everything except in groceries, to be honest. It was like kind of, I mean, you kind of get to and you go, wow, it's like the rent. So obviously you buy property. I mean, you can't do that conversion, but you probably end up not buying. But like rentals I'd say 80% of people arrive, they're renting something. It's a big shock.
Yeah.
And also finding something, it sounds cliched. It's like the whole cliche thing. There's a housing crisis, but there genuinely is one. It's like you just finding something to stay is a problem. I was chatting to someone the other day. They're a small studio, 1 bed type apartment. To the Liffey in Dublin, be €3,200 a month. It's like crazy money. and so that's definitely the big shock there. And then if you someone who likes their wine like I do, that's a big shock as well. So because you pay for your sins, it's
Uh,
like really, really expensive. So and eating out, so I think socializing is very expensive, and
mm,
cost of rentals and cost of living in terms of rentals is quite a shock. Houses are great quality, very well priced. To live a very basic lifestyle is easy enough.
Great insight. Thanks, John. Do you have anything to add there, Berilyn?
no, I think definitely agree with John. Your socializing side of things is expensive. If you pop into Dublin to Temple Bar, where everybody goes and visits, you could potentially pay 11 or 12 euro for a pint. So
Well, a
a
pint.
pint, a Guinness. Well, it's just so you've got to know that unless you're making lots of fabulous money, it's going to be a treat, right? So I think a lot of people tend to um, socialize at home.
Mm.
And yeah, because just for example, if you went to a pub for a burger, you're probably looking at 18 euro for a burger. So, that side of things is expensive, but otherwise, I mean, there's so much to do that doesn't cost you money, you know.
Mm.
So many things that you can do without having to spend a fortune.
What
I
about
mean, like the
the,
green areas, the park areas. I mean,
Yeah, that's
around
fabulous.
the
Yeah,
cities, whichever city you're in.
yeah,
It's just you can be out and about, and whether the weather's bad or not, you know what, you dress against the weather. But
yeah.
if you're going to worry about the weather in Ireland, you're never going to get out. So
No,
it's literally so be prepared for the weather, and then the rest is really easy because there's so many nice places to walk around to get
yeah,
out and
yeah,
be sociable.
I mean, it looks beautiful, that's for sure.
yeah.
What about
If-
public transport?
I think depends where you are. In Wicklow, for example, we have one bus that goes every hour to Dublin. We recently got another one that goes just to the town down the road called Bray. And the train from Wicklow, I think there are about 4 or 5 a day. So we're just that little bit too far to be on the main DART, which is the DART line. But if you anywhere from Greystones up, fabulous. You can hop on a train into Dublin and all the way in. Um, and it's generally not too expensive. Probably, I don't know, John, if you remember
Yeah, the
about
darts
€8
is
return or
yeah, the darts is really cheap. It's like
yeah,
it's
yeah,
it's under I thought yeah, it's about $7.
yeah,
And all over the country as well. So the train lines run rapidly
yes,
between the east and the west and down to the south, so and they run every hour or so or two.
yeah,
So I think the more long distance transport works pretty well. Erin's 100% correct. So I'm down south of where she is. But we have a bus coach that runs up every hour as well. So it's yeah, the coach is a bit pricey. I mean, that's going to cost you. It costs you the same for a return that it would just for a one way into Dublin. So that's the way they price it. But as a whole, that's not bad, man. Still, I hear a lot of the locals moaning about it. But I suppose when you come from where we come from, it's like, okay, hang on a sec, this is like pretty cool because if if our point of departure is what it is, this is pretty effective. And when I listen to our mates in the UK, they complain because that's ridiculously expensive apparently commuting around the UK compared to what we pay. So no, I think it works pretty well. You just need to plan your day. Simple. I always coach into Dublin. I'm very seldom driving. Certainly not, but I wouldn't drive in by choice unless I was coming back late.
yeah. Traffic is
Yeah,
crazy into Dublin.
A lot of people use public transport to travel to work.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
absolutely. Very much so, yeah. I mean, and again, those train lines, like the East Coast one, and up, but yeah, it's kind of the trains are full in the morning, business people ever, because at the end of the day,
Mm,
why would you want to drive into? I think it's the third most congested city on the planet right now. Why would
yeah.
you want to do that? It just doesn't make sense. So yeah, public transport is very, very well used.
Great. I'm going to take another question from the audience, or it could be a comment. I'm going to read as I go. Caitlin, who is joining from Ireland, she's been in Ireland for just over 2 years, only just getting settled now and started networking. The first thing is I'd like to know some of the Irishisms, unique things about the Irish community that would help when networking to better understand the culture. I figured out a few, but would love to hear from those who have been there for many years. We'll take a moment to think
Yeah,
about it.
yeah. Trust Caitlin to throw us a curveball. She's one of our members, by the way, as
Yeah.
you know.
Irishisms, I think,
Yeah,
I think the most important thing with networking in Ireland is networking
yeah,
because it's not in Ireland, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And for
exactly.
example, we had to move house last year, we were renting and we had to find another rental. You can go online and search and do whatever you like. You need to speak to everyone, to your postman, to the guy at the supermarket, to people at work, to everybody, because someone knows someone. And
Mhm.
obviously, when you're here in Ireland away from home, you don't have that backup network. You don't have your mom or your aunt or your cousin. So you utilize the people around you. And generally, people are really good. If you're saying, look, if you hear of anything, please let me know. People will get back to you and say, oh, somebody mentioned this, or somebody mentioned, or I heard somebody say that their aunt was moving house and maybe you can get in touch with her. So it's very much, it's definitely the way to go for everything is talking to people.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And wherever you go in the world, right? Just being
Yeah,
open.
exactly. If
no,
you don't
exactly.
tell them, they're not going to know, right? So, yeah.
But from a networking perspective, I'll just concur with what Berilyn's saying. It's really, really important to firstly connect with the local community because the Irish people are very community focused. But yet at the same time, the global diaspora is enormous. And the ability to connect globally is, I'd say, as good as any diaspora in the world. I mean, they just wherever you go, the Irish people connect. So I think once you connect with your local community, and then also a lesson learned in the business side of things for Caitlin is that it takes time to build the like anything, I suppose. You go to the UK and to Johannesburg, it's quite easy to do business because people will be quite direct and say yes or no.
Hmm.
Whereas in the Irish culture, it's like it takes time, it builds. Um, it's not within the framework of Irish people to say no, but it's like but maybe they'll think about it for a while longer. You just need to be patient. You need to build slowly. That's it.
And come to the South African gathering, Caitlin.
Yes, please.
She's going to be there. She's going to be there.
Fantastic. From Deji, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, Deji, but her question is, what about the schools? I have a 3-year-old and job opportunities given the anti-immigrant sentiment around the world right now.
So yeah, schools can be difficult to find places, right? And I think that would be if you moved anywhere,
Yeah,
depending on the area you stay in. Um, but I think in most cases, a plan will be made. Do you know what I mean? So, and a 3-year-old, I don't think you're going to have a problem finding a place. There's a lot of nursery schools, creches around that offer spaces. From the anti-immigrant sentiment, it's a tough one. I think a lot of the time, generally, what happens is there's a small amount of people making a lot of noise,
yeah,
right? And in general, I don't I don't think majority of Irish people feel that way, that they are anti-immigrants and whatever. So look, it's hard. It is a hard one because you do sort of feel a little bit, uncomfortable sometimes, but there's a lot of help for people from your local councils and that kind of thing as well, citizens information. So yeah, it's a tough one. I think that you've got to decide on a one-to-one basis, whether you think it's going to work for you or not. I wouldn't say, don't worry about it, come over. It's entirely up to each person. I know, John, what
Okay.
do you think about the,
yeah. So look, I mean, my experience is we were very lucky. Is that when we landed in Newtown, Mount Kennedy.
Yeah.
And we managed to get Samara into the local. But she was meant to start grade 7, her final year of primary school when we arrived. And and obviously it would have been January, so she had a whole gap period where she didn't do anything, and then we managed to squeeze her into local primary school in Newtown, Mount Kennedy, which was the feeder to the high school. And luckily, the headmaster kept, and he had a waiting list of 400 kids at the time, from all over, from Dublin North all the way to Wexford. And he had luckily kept 3 spots open for local kids, and we luckily fell into that catchment area. But Desi, I'd say to you is that, I could probably go back to one of the question about the shocks of the cost of cost of living shocks. Is childcare is the cost of living shock? I can tell that right.
That's right.
It's a massive thing, because at the end of the day, there's minimum wages, and people need to earn a fair wage. So if you're gonna have a young one who's needs childcare, you're gonna pay. I think one of my friends, she's actually a member of the network as well, who's up north side in Dublin. She pays around €2,000 a month for the 2 kids to go to like 2 creches or day schools. Yeah, so that's something to prepare yourself for again. Yeah, getting into school, I think once you're in a catchment area and you've been there for a while, you'll get in. To concur with what Berilyn said, it's just a process of being there and getting into it, and making sure you know your local schools. Private schools you'll get into if you're prepared to. And strange enough, the private schools are not a lot more expensive than what I just mentioned for daycare.
Oh, yeah.
For creches. So there we go.
Can I just go back onto the school thing, John, as well? I think your public schools are fabulous. They're really good. And the good thing about, yes, the pain of having younger kids. I mean, our child is now 21, so we haven't been involved in that for a while. But as you say, very expensive. But I think there is what they call the ECI scheme, where there is, I don't know if it's not necessarily a grant, but it's like assistance for kids over a certain age in nursery school that you get.
Okay.
And you also get your child benefit, which everybody in the country gets for children under 18. I think it's approximately €140 a month. So that is for everyone.
Yeah.
So that is a little bit of a help as well. Yeah.
We have a little bit of a technical question. It is a technical one, so if you can't answer it, we can research it. But if you kept property in South Africa while becoming an Irish tax resident, how did the double taxation agreement play out in practice? Any surprises with SARS or Irish revenue?
Not something I'd be prepared to answer. I don't have that wheelhouse.
Yeah, we'd
But
have to look into that.
I can definitely refer whoever this question. I can refer you to a person who could answer that question immediately for you.
Great.
So there's a referral we can do for you.
Connect with John Mulder on LinkedIn, and he'll make that connection. Then another question is, we've answered it a little bit, but maybe if there's more to add, how did you build a social circle outside the South African expat community? Any local groups or meetups?
There are a lot of local groups and meetups. I suppose it's what you firstly, if you have children, it does make you have that immediate sort of introduction with other parents at school. Kids generally don't do most of their sports at school. If kids want to play rugby or football or whatever, they join clubs outside of school, and that then would generally be the weekend. So with different interests, there are a lot of clubs. There's hiking clubs.
Maybe, Berilyn, where do they find it? So do they go onto Facebook? What
look, I'd say probably Facebook is your portal. For example, most areas, like in Wicklow, you have the Wicklow Town Open Forum.
Sure.
And people will advertise local businesses on there. People ask questions about what time does the pharmacy open, so each area will have a local forum, generally, that I know of. Yeah, so that's a good place to start. Your local citizens information has information on a lot of different things, including your legal side of things, what facilities are available to you in the area, and also information about when you arrive, you've got to apply for a PPS number, which is almost like an ID number. So they have information on all that kind of thing. Local libraries are also a good place because they're usually fabulous with a lot of info, local info in your area.
Thanks. And talking about social clubs, etc., maybe John, you'd want to walk us through a little bit about what you have planned in Ireland, South Africa versus Ireland match raffle.
Oh, okay. So that's, yeah. So what we're doing with Lacquer Network here is we've decided to get quite serious around a non-profit organization, which we're in the process of registering and launching. And we've been gifted by an organization called Eco Venturists, who have given us a $50,000 prize. It's a once-in-a-lifetime African adventure. So it's a trip to Cape Town, Kruger, and I think Kariba, if I'm not mistaken. So it's like 18 days, all costs paid, 5,000. I think one of them's a $5,000 a night place or something. That's like crazy stuff. So they've given us this really amazing prize. And the purpose of that is simply to start year one, where we register this non-profit called Lacquer Impact. And Lacquer Impact is going to basically do work to support charity, and then in year 2 and 3 get to a point where we can invest in South African centered, whether they be in Ireland or South Africa, SMEs, impacts, do some impact investment, that sort of thing. So the goals are big. This year we have obviously this raffle. It's going to culminate in a gala event on the 19th of November, 2 days before the Bok game against Ireland. And we hope to raise €150,000 in year one. Got an amazing team of much cleverer people than me sitting on the board. I'm just the sales guy at the end of the day. I'm doing the business development and the investor relations. But yeah, it's going to be that's kind of what it's all about. So we'll be launching that going forward. This one year that you've got on screen is closing this coming week to help fund our involvement in the SA gathering. We connected with a company called Colesta Travel, and Colesta Travel are the Irish Rugby Football Union's travel partners for rugby packages. So they gifted us two tickets for that game, and yeah, €20 pop. There's only 150 tickets available, and these tickets are probably worth close to, I think the 2 tickets are worth about €800. So I'll give you an idea. But we're limited to 150 entries, and we'd love to have everyone buy a ticket and tell your mates about it. And like any event that you're doing as a networking organization, you need to raise money. So that's it.
Great insight. Thank you, John. Lacquer Impact sounds phenomenal. So would love to hear a little bit more about it. Maybe if we can get information on your LinkedIn. I'm not too sure, but how do we get involved and help raise those funds? Awesome. All right, panelists, as we wrap up, let's maybe just do a little bit of the rapid questions. Can I drive with my South African license?
You can for 7 months, Berilyn.
It's 6 or 7 months, and then you have to convert.
And you have to convert. Here's what's interesting, and I need to, maybe I see Charlene's online. Maybe we can just double check this or get the right input. What I've heard is that as of the 1st of July, it's not an automatic conversion anymore. Is that you have to do some lessons again, and you actually have to go through a process. So that's just something we need to double check. I'm making an observation, not a factual statements, but that's what I've heard. So yeah, you're good for 7 months, then you have to convert. And the only thing we need to verify at this point is whether it's still just an automatic conversion or whether you actually have to go through a lesson process again. That's, yeah.
Great. I just want to, this one made me smile from Matthew. Matthew said, shout out to John and Berilyn. They do so much for the SA expat community in Ireland. Dankie for alles.
Thanks, Matthew.
Thanks, Matt.
Giselle is wondering, she is part of BISA, but she's wondering, are there any other Irish networks that you would recommend joining for business networking?
Yeah, so there's the Chamber. We've got the SA Chamber here as well. South African-based networking. So if you're looking at if you want to connect with South Africans again, it depends which sector you're in, but there's also an organization which I'm busy in the process of joining myself. It's called Beta. It's a British Irish business organization. Again, I can find the link and share it, but Beta is something to join, BITA, and that gives you a mix of it's a multinational organization that has chapters throughout Europe, UK, and various countries. And that's obviously got a lot more local people involved and Irish citizens, which you need to do. I mean, you need to integrate into that. You can't just rely on the Irish networks. You need to integrate into Irish networks. And then there's multiple. There's BNIs. Like BNI is a big thing here. I think it's called Business Network International or something, but BNI is big. It's very localized. So if you're an SME and you offer a service, that's a great place to be. If you are in the corporate space, maybe it's not the fit for you because it's more localized and chapter driven as well. So like each town has a BNI. Yeah, I'd say off the cuff, those are the ones I think of. So from South African Chamber exists, it's headed up by a very capable board, and they're busy building out, and then yeah, BISA collaborates with them, and BISA's collaborating with us as well. So, but certainly, yeah, I'd say Beta's a good one from what I picked up.
And John, what about your local chambers? You have your Dublin chamber.
Exactly.
Every as you say, locality has a chamber, and then
Yeah.
they have meetups and network sessions and lunches and all that. So those, and as you say, from a local who's in your area, not just South African, would be good to look into as well.
And that's exactly 100%. And you know what? They're really, excuse me, they're really active and they're really well funded and supported by the Irish government. So you spot on, Berilyn. That's actually probably your first port of call.
Great. So Zal will definitely take a look at Beta, she says. All right, the next question is it easy to make friends?
Long-lasting friends, childhood friends, it's easy to make friends initially, but whether that carries on, and I think everybody is different, right? So I know for some reason, I think younger South Africans coming over, let's say 20s, 30s, sometimes can be easier because let's say you join a hiking club or you join the swimming club, or do you know what I mean? So it can be difficult from my point of view anyway, I think, because when you're moving to a new country, people who are already there have their own backup systems and their own school friends and that kind of thing. So it takes a little bit of PT, but 100% yes, you can make friends, but it's got to come from you because no one's coming to knock on your door and say, hey, please be my friend. You've got to make the effort, and it's not easy though, but you just got to fuss bait and get on there.
John, you and I had a little bit of a conversation around this, right? It really depends on the type of person you are and being open to make those friendships, etc. Do you want to add to that, John?
Exactly that. It's like you have people who, and I heard a recent example of someone who joined a running club and wasn't connected with people, and the partner said, "Well, why are you speaking to people?" She says, "No, I go there to run." It's like, okay, well, if you're not going to talk to people while you're running, you're not going to make mates, So it's like at the end of the day, I think it's how you engage, So, Irish people are very open. Are they someone who's going to invite you into their home immediately? Not at all. It's just they meet at the pub. That's where they socialize, and there's logical reasons for it because people like you don't have cleaners, you don't have. So when you're home, you're kind of tidying up the whole time and you're doing your stuff at home. But the local is where you meet. But yeah, they're open people, and just engage in your local community. Get out there, talk to people, because they love a good story, like we do. I mean, they are storytellers of the nth degree. So yeah, if you just get chatty, then engage. I mean, my local butcher, I walk down the road and he shouts at me out of the butcher. It's like, so yeah, it's easy enough to make mates.
Fantastic. Last question. What's one thing you wish you knew earlier? Take a moment.
Sure. I should have thought about that one up front. What did I wish I knew earlier?
And just by the way, John, I would like you to try talk to somebody while you're running, while you're trying to catch Not an easy thing to do.
running
Yeah, no, fair
slowly.
enough, fair enough.
Yeah.
Um, what did I wish I knew earlier? Shucks. Okay, that's interesting one. Beryl and I, if you got a lead there.
Yeah, no, look, I think the one thing I wish I knew earlier was that it's an adventure, but it can be hard. That you are basically on your own when you first arrive, right? And I suppose nowadays is a bit easier. You have ways to connect. You've got WhatsApp, you've got all that, that Zoom calls and all that kind of thing. But it can be it can be lonely, and it can definitely test relationships. And obviously, if you've got kids, it throws another dimension in. But I don't want it to sound all doom and gloom. It 100% isn't. But just to be aware that you will find it hard initially. And the other thing I wish I knew was how long winter lasts, right?
Does it ever end?
Well, today it has ended. But it's not even that winters are freezing necessarily. You might get the odd few days where we go below zero, but not very often at all. But it's just that the sun doesn't shine for a long time, I think, more than it being winter. It can be by the time you get to about February, you sort of saying, right, now this gray must go. Can we please get some rays, But yeah, no, I think it's hard to say what you wish you knew because I don't know, John, have you thought of anything yet?
Yeah, I think I'm going to take the winter thing out of your book. That's,
Yeah,
I think,
yeah,
I'll be brutally honest. I think if I'd known that, I very possibly might not have come because that is the one thing
it's
I do
long.
struggle. One thing I do struggle with is the long
Mm,
winter. But
yeah,
luckily I'm at an age now where I'm a toppy, so I can start traveling a bit more during the winters. I don't have kids in the house anymore, so. But yeah, that
yeah,
is a massive challenge.
mm,
And I also from a business perspective, I think what I would probably have thought about more clearly is what am I leaving behind to what am I coming to? Because if you're an entrepreneur, corporate's a different animal. You pop into corporate, you carry on, life goes on. But
mm,
as an entrepreneur, I would say just be very clear on what you're doing because I hadn't really thought it through. I was going, I'll arrive in Ireland with this piece of tech and life will go on. It doesn't work like that. So you need to get in and build networks like we're talking about all the time. So yeah, and it was just a lack of forethought from my side in terms of thinking up front. Should I be engaging route to market earlier with my product? So yeah, I'd say those are two things I would have probably given a bit more thought to before I left.
Berilyn, John, thank you so much for having this conversation and for our audience at home for tuning in. It's been an excellent one and definitely a lot of insight from my side, a lot of elements I didn't know of that I now do know of. If you need to know anything further about moving to Ireland or anything about Ireland, please feel free to reach out to John Mulder and Berilyn Teeling on LinkedIn. They're quite active on that platform. Refer your friends and your family to the South African gathering. It's happening on the 11th of July. So just a few days away, Berilyn.
yep, we're packing vans and printing t-shirts. We're ready for action.
Interesting. And if you'd like to know a little bit more about the Lecker Network or led by her, please reach out to me. I'm happy to set up a meeting with you and have a further, deeper conversation. From Mzansi to the world, have an excellent week further, and thank you all for joining.